Hello, friends. I'm Hoang a PhD student.
I'm Eshani Hetyachi, and I'm a Sri Lankan born scientist now working in UCSD.
Welcome to I Scholar Dive with Hoang and Eshani. This podcast series was created to be a support system for international scholars. In this monthly series, we interview professors, postdocs, students, and professionals of international background to share their stories, experiences, and advice with others in the community. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Gogo. Gogo and I met through a mutual friend on a camping trip, and we have been friends ever since. Gogo comes from China, where she earned her bachelor degree in biotechnology at Sun Yat-sen University. She then relocated to the United States and completed her master degree in clinical research at UC San Diego. And currently, she is employed as a clinical research associate at Parexel here in San Diego. Now, let's shift the spotlight to Gogo and hear her incredible story. Gogo, is there anything else you would like to add to the introduction?
Thank you so much, Huang, for the wonderful introduction about myself. So, hi everyone, I'm Gogo. I was born and raised in China. And as Huang said, I did my undergraduate study in China and I did a lot of wet lab work on different topics, ranging from microorganism to biotherapies to 3D structures of proteins. That's what Huang did. I was fascinated by the biological ideas, but I also hope they come true one day because I really hope they can benefit human beings one day. So I came to the States for my master's degree in clinical research and learn more about the drug development processes and how I can promote the drugs and therapies from bench to bed. And I also started to conduct clinical studies, and I realized they are totally different from what I did before in the lab. There's a lot of patient interaction and communications. So it's no longer just talking to the data on the paper. I am talking to real human beings. So, well, people are from different cultural backgrounds, educational backgrounds, races, ethnicities. So I think it is so important to know their reactions. Sometimes when you say totally the same verse, they will react 100% differently. So I really appreciate Hoang and Shani's holding this conversation with us to explore more about the conversation and cultural differences. I really hope that we can have a more free and open discussion about this. And no matter in our work, study, or life, we can have a better understanding of each other and just the lovely people around us. So thank you so much for inviting me.
So, in this episode, we explore Gogo's culture shock experience and how Gogo overcame language and cultural barriers. And if you're a new student who just came to United States, we're also going to talk about how Gogo spent her first Thanksgiving and any interesting ideas or anecdotes that she may have about getting prepared.
So, the first question for you, Gogo, what was culture shock for you, and how did you personally experience it when you first arrived in the United States?
So when I first came for the master degree in the United States, it was during COVID-19 pandemic and everyone is attending Zoom University. So I did think there's much difference about cultural things at that time. But when everything's gradually becomes normal, every student comes back to campus, and especially when I started to work in the clinic, I started to feel that cultural experience. In general, I would say people here are more outspoken and enthusiastic than I do. There's a vibe in the workplace or on campus. People are more expressive and they tend to talk a lot about themselves than I do. For example, when people first time meets each others or greets others in the morning, they have a small talk. It's not just a small talk, sometimes a long talk for about half an hour or an hour. It is quite different for me. And I don't consider myself an introvert at all back in my country because I was doing all kinds of outreach work for the club in my college. But the environment here is totally different. Like people are talking something irrelevant to the work, and well, they just keep talking and talking, and sometimes I'm not familiar with the topics they're saying about. So I'm also more focused on the work, and I don't feel so accustomed to switching from work to the random talks. So I feel that's the biggest cultural shock for me. And I also think people here tend to interrupt or challenge others when people are talking. Because in my work, we have a training period, and the trainer encouraged the students to express whatever they want to say, or she just encourage any comments or questions while she is speaking. But in my culture, or I was brought up in a way that I should raise question after the trainer wraps up her thing. So I was always waiting for the trainer to finish her thing, but well, from their perspective, they may think I am not attentively participating in that one, and that's a big culture shock. And the third one, maybe, well, when they communicate with others, I think they have a more expressive way, or sometimes there might be some exaggeration when talking. Like when I did a really small job in my work, for example, I printed some labels for the lab tubes. My supervisor will respond it in a super exaggerated way, in my opinion. Like she would say, wow, that's awesome. Like this word awesome is a lot of affirmation for me, and I don't think I deserve such affirmation when I just did such little job like printing some labels. But that happened to me, and well, I was still in a way to getting myself familiar with all the reactions they will have, and I am trying to react to these situations in the same way they did. So I'm getting accustomed to all of them.
Right. I also experienced some similar things when I have a hard time entering a conversation, especially in a large group. I don't know when is the best time for me to enter that doesn't disrupt other people. So sometimes I waited for my turn, and then sometimes the conversation end before I able to speak up. So I has been practicing how to enter a conversation in a large group, and it's definitely challenging for me. How did you deal with that, Gogo, when you realize that when you want to enter a conversation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I still don't think it's polite to interrupt others in the halfway they speak. Well, I know it's their culture that interrupting others halfway may be acceptable or maybe encouraged, but I am not that person. So if I really want to express my opinions, I often give some gesture to the speaker. Or when I am speaking online, I will raise my hands virtually on Zoom so that the speaker can know, well, I need to speak something, and I have some comments, so that, well, it's my way of politely showing that I have something to say.
Yeah, I did the same in a group meeting and also in some of other group setting. And sometimes people laugh when I raise my hands. I think maybe it's look like you in elementary or something. I don't know why. Maybe American they not get used to raising their hands before they enter a conversation.
In my situation, I think people are aware that I am this kind of person, and they are also accepting that some people are not feeling comfortable to interrupt each other. So they accept this way, especially in a large group that people are raising their hands. I think it is the right way for a large conversation, because the conversation will not lose track sometimes. You have to listen to others and respect others, and after they wrap up their opinion and they completely express what they want to say, and then you have your verse against them or for them. I think it's a better way.
So when you say these larger conversations where you used to use your hand gestures, is it like friends groups or is it like a professional setting?
I think it's for both because it's always my way to express my opinions after the speaker finish all their things. So in a large group, I will always, well, just give a gesture or virtually raise my hands.
Sometimes in the friends groups, I see, especially like if they're new international students, they stay silent because, well, probably that they're not getting the conversation, sort of like sometimes we're talking more in word things that are just specific to this country or something like that. And something that I and some of my other friends have been doing is like we're trying to get them to the conversation by asking questions. And so, do you find something like that would have been helpful to you if someone in the same circle would have asked you questions and tried to get you into the conversation?
Yeah, definitely. Well, sometimes when I first come to a friend group and I am not friends with anyone in that group, I will feel a little nervous and I don't want to mess things up. So I just observe a lot and just see the flow when they hold that conversation. But if someone in the group raise a question and ask me about something, that's definitely a good way for me to get into that conversation and begin to get to know them. So I appreciate that way.
All right, so we talk a little bit about the specific challenges that you have faced and some of the ways that you have overcome. But specifically speaking of the language barrier and the communication, did you have any sort of challenges that you faced? And then if they do, like how did you address those challenges?
Specifically for language barrier, I think for every international students coming to the States, they have something they are not familiar with, even though they went through the TOEFL and GRE and they learned thousands of words they will never use in their life. Well, for example, I remember the first time I came to the States and I visited my family in LA and they took me to the Grand Central Market in LA and there was a great restaurant. And at that time I ordered a sandwich and I wanted to have some get some ketchup. At that time I don't know the word ketchup. I don't even use the word ketchup. And I just know that's made from tomato and that's the sauce. So I asked the server, can I get some tomato sauce? And the server's kind of confused. Oh, do you want some ketchup? I said, what? I want some tomato sauce. And she said, oh, okay, ketchup. And then she passed me some ketchup. And at that time I know, okay, that's what I want. That's ketchup. That's called ketchup and not called tomato sauce here. So, well, everyone is in the same situation that we don't necessarily know some words that is not used in our country or we never learn in our culture. They are not very difficult words and they are not complex academic words in GRE or something. But well, you just don't know. You when you come to the States and you started to be in the real conversation, you start to know all this local languages and local words. And well, and another example is that one time when I was attending student university and a professor was talking to me and he was greeting me like, hello, Gogo, how are you? Kind of thing. And it was halfway through that quarter. It's like there has been 5 lectures before that Zoom section. And I was reacting to that professor like nice to meet you. I don't know why I was coming up with that phrase, but maybe because I am not so familiar with the usage of phrases, and I just came up with that phrase unconsciously. So that was embarrassing at that time. I can see at that time my professor is kind of frozen on the screen, and no one was responding to what I speak. There were like 10 more students in that group, but no one is speaking. Like the air is frozen. So it was embarrassing, but it also became my hilarious story after that because, well, I know everyone like me will make like simple, stupid mistakes like this. And well, when you really get to accustomed to all of this, you feel more comfortable. And it is just that embarrassing moment that makes you learn that you can use this phrase in a correct situation and you can make things better in the next time. So the way for me to onto this embarrassing situation is just to accept that, well, I am an international student and I don't grow up in the language environment that I know everything. So it's pretty normal for me to not know everything about the culture and language. But as I get more exposed and as I make more mistakes, I can learn from them and feel more comfortable when I encounter the similar situation. So I'm also growing from them.
What would you want to say at that time if it's not nice to meet you?
So the professor just asked, "How are you?" So I would just say, "Good." Like,
I see, I see. I thought that you was going to rate him, so you come up to him. So I thought nice to meet you is the perfect way to start that conversation. I
oh
see.
no, it's just a Zoom section, and before that section, there are already like 5 or 6 lectures, and I was just saying, "Nice to meet you." So it was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but I been taking dance class for more than a year already, right? But it's
Mhm.
still very hard for me to break the ice and come up and talk to the dance instructor.
Mhm.
And I saw my friends do this so easily, and I was like, how did you do that? Like, what kind of question should I ask to break the ice? Even though I want to break the ice, I just don't know what kind of question I should ask my dance instructor. All right, Gogo, tell us about your Thanksgiving experience as an international student. How did you learn about this holiday, and what were your initial thoughts or expectations about it?
That's an interesting question because I want to share an event held by one of our mutual friend, and she's also an international student. And last Thanksgiving holiday, she was holding a Thanksgiving dinner or event at her place. And I love how she creatively come up with an idea that, well, every friend come to that event will paint the campus tote for another friend to show our appreciation to our friends. So we really have fun in that activity, and it's showing the cultural meaning of this holiday. We don't have this holiday back in China, but we know some of its cultural meaning, but we don't celebrate it. When I come to the States and we have holidays for Thanksgiving, we get the chance to learn the cultural meaning of that holiday and through this event. So at that dinner event, I drew a potato chip training for my friend and in memory of our sweet memory of climbing that potato chip mountain. And that's a special memory for me, and it's also showing my appreciation and thanks for our sweet friendship. So in general, I don't personally have much cultural attachment to the US holidays because I was not brought up in this environment. But well, my friends here can hold some activities, and sometimes they bring me to this culture, and I started to learn more about the holidays and cultures here, and that's the way how I started to learn about this. But other than that, the US holidays is just a 3 day break for me. I can do whatever I want to do, like travel to another city or do some outdoor activities, which I don't have time to do during my usual time. And well, that's what I usually do. But if my friend invite me to some events or some dinner, I just go to them.
Yeah, I think I kind of relate to Gogo in this one. So my first Thanksgiving was also, I was happy, okay, I have a 4 day weekend, I just do things. But then one of the professors that I took the class with, he decided to invite all the students of his class to his house and have the Thanksgiving with the students and his family. So by the way, at that time he had a wife and I forgot how many children, but definitely more than five.
Wow.
Anyways, so yeah, so I did not know what to bring. And back in Sri Lanka, we usually take a dish or maybe some gifts, something that we can share and eat as gifts when you go to a holiday like this. But I didn't know what to do in the US. And so I asked the international coordinator, what should I take to his place? And then he was like, okay, a bottle of wine is always fine. And I'm like, no, I don't want to take wine. And then he
So
told
what do
me,
you bring eventually?
right, yeah. I mean, I knew he had kids and I didn't know, like, do you drink during Thanksgiving? I mean, I now know you do, but I didn't know at that time. And then our national coordinator suggested me that why don't you take some artwork since you do art? So I just took some one of those and went there. But then he and his family was really nice, and then they started telling us the stories and the history of the holiday and those kind of thing. So that actually gave me the idea that oh maybe I should actually look up these holidays, what they mean by. Even today I think I'm more prone to just like enjoy my day when I have a 3 day weekend or 4 day weekend. But I think in my first year I was paying attention to each of these holidays and trying to kind of understand what they were. But it was a sweet memory and a sweet experience to have in my very first Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so after you guys first experience with these Thanksgiving, I guess you don't feel attached to it too much and just
Not
learn about
much.
it and then
I think
yeah.
it's just like what Gogo said that, well, I did not grow up celebrating this holiday. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think people are shaped by what they were brought up or what they were educated because I am still celebrating traditional Chinese holidays, although they don't have holidays for the traditional Chinese ones, but I'm still celebrating them even though I don't have the holidays. But for US holidays, it's just the break for me. And if there's a event, I go. If there's not, I just travel and do something I like.
I'm glad to hear that you have work-life balance. I have a lot of friends who work during weekend or long holidays or
You
vacation
need
days.
more friends who doesn't then.
Well, when you're in the industry, people don't work. Will never work when that there's US holiday. No one will respond to your emails. So everyone's just well celebrating the holidays and do not work, and it is a consensus. But I think it's different in academia.
Yeah. When you're in academia, do you ever work weekend or holidays?
Yeah, I think I kind of work on holidays even well well that's different, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I think
you keep thinking about your ideas and your research work whenever you are in that project. So no matter it's holiday or work day, you're always thinking about all the work you are doing.
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's because academia has the flexibility of time and a lot of people don't know how to use it. So the flexibility has become always working sort of thing.
Definitely.
All right, so Gogo, in hindsight, What advice would you give to other international students who might be experiencing culture shock and or language barrier while preparing for and celebrating holidays like Thanksgiving?
Well, I would say first be kind to yourself. I know we are all experiencing something totally different from our own culture, and you're not alone. We are all in this situation. So you are doing an awesome job to get yourself accustomed to all of that. And well, we have to give ourselves some patience because Rome is not blue in one day. So when you ever feel uncomfortable or when you don't want to challenge yourself to talk to others, when you don't want to know about their cultures or when you feel some culture shock, you can just step back and do something you like go outdoors or talk to your friends, listen to some music, whatever you want to do, and make yourself happy. And after that, if you ever want to step out a little bit and challenge your comfort zone a little bit, well, you can start to well go out to contact different cultures and different people and redo the things again. And if you feel embarrassed or some or just you don't feel comfortable, just well you can protect yourself in your shell. And I also encourage you to reach out to friends in similar culture like yours. Like for me, in Thanksgiving, I'm with my friends, and they're not come from China, but they kind of share similar cultures with me, so I can always rely on them and I can trust them. And they also provide a lot of useful suggestions for me for my life in the United States, and they are also taking care of me when we are in a group discussion. So find someone who you can rely on and who are in the same culture with you, and you will feel fine.
Hey, I have a question though.
Yeah.
So that's a nice advice, but what if you can't find someone from your culture? Like it's very relatable to me. I come from a very small nation, so it's
Yeah.
not always you find a Sri Lankan in the same room.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think people often make friends with the persons who share similar values and perspectives as theirs. So it's not necessarily people coming from your own country. It may be some people coming from similar culture. For example, it is challenging for me to get used to the outspoken and enthusiastic culture as American did sometimes. But when I talk to people in South Asia, Southeast Asia, they might be speaking in a way that is more acceptable to me sometimes. So I think it's always looking for friends that you feel comfortable with, and no matter they come from the country of yourself or some other countries, as long as they make you feel comfortable, it's always fine. And well, if you are such an introvert that you don't want to have any friend, it's also fine, because I read an interesting research recently that about 30% of our generation don't think they have a close friend. And the scholar says it's totally fine if you don't have a close friend and you are relying on like computer or social network, because it's not like the old days. If you don't have friends, you don't have any connection with the outside world. It is an era that you can use a social network and the computer to make yourself entertained and keep yourself mentally healthy. So just do something you like, no matter is browsing, is surfing on the internet, or just go outdoor, do something you like, and make yourself happy before you challenge yourself.
Shani, when you first come here and you
Mhm.
couldn't find another Sri Lankan in the room, how did you overcome that
I
loneliness
found
of
a one. Well, okay, this is the thing. So we do have this Facebook community called Sri Lankan Grad Students and Scholars in North America, which is basically for the US and Canada. So what we do is we just post there, and almost always someone shows up. So I found one UCSD student, but other than that, I think I like a lot of outdoor activities and that kind of thing. So I joined the clubs and groups, circles, whatever you call them, and then make friends through those. So in my graduate years, I think until year or so later, I didn't have any Sri Lankan friends. All my friends were from the US, born and raised here. But I've been doing things with them and a lot of outdoor activities. So we became friends. So yeah, I think for me, it's always just people who like to hike, I guess. Yeah,
That's how we became friends.
exactly, right?
Or go camping.
Camping, yeah, outdoor.
Have you ever feel not fit in when you hang out with your friend who was born and raised here?
Not really. I think I had a different approach. I think I was always open and upfront that I'm not from this country, so I don't understand. You have to explain to me what you're talking about. That kind of attitude, sort of. And then the friends group I met and became friends with are also fine with that. And then I would learn from them, they will learn from me, and it has become a mutual relationship. So I never felt like I did not fit in, but I think it was because of the approach I took rather than knowing everything about the country, which wasn't true. So
So have you ever feel like since you have a lot of friends and some of them move on, have you ever feel like you need something last long for a long time, like long-term friendship? Because when my friends move on, I actually feel sad and I miss them, right? But then I know everyone has their own life. So has you ever feel that way when you move between different group of friends and sometimes you feel like you need something deep, deep, like very connected deep down?
I totally
I don't.
feel it. I
Yeah.
totally feel it. Yeah, because I just graduated, and at the same time, most of the friend of mine also graduated, and because of their birth is in different states or even not in the United States, they go to different places, and I don't have a chance to meet them in the future. So I lost a lot of friends. And well, you know, after I graduated, I came back to LA, and then I came back to San Diego. So just during that time, I found many of my friends has already left San Diego, and I did feel very sad about it. But I think, well, it is such a normal thing or something you must go through in the time when you grow, because no one will accompany you to your death. And
Maybe your partner.
well,
If you have
even if it's my partner, I cannot guarantee they will accompany me to my death. Well, I think all the people in this world, all the friends of you can only accompany you for a certain period of time, no matter long or short. But well, the most important thing is that you have great memories and some shining points of your friendship, so that you can remember them till your death. And that's the point of friendship for me. But I do think that a long relationship is very important for my growth. And I do have some friends that comes from my college or comes from my middle school. I'm still a friend of them. Even that they are back in my home country and I'm in the States, I still text them from time to time, and we still talk about our changes in life. And well, it's interesting to see they live in a totally different environment than me, and sometimes we can share our perspectives about the life in different places, and I feel that's also interesting. And well, some friends who accompany you growing up have some traits or characteristics that will not change a long time, and you will appreciate it. And well, that type of friend is different, and I also I I'm always thankful for them always being there in my life, and that's also the friendship I like.
Thank you, Gogo, for coming out and sharing your story with us. We wish you best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you everyone for staying with us for another episode of iScholar Dive. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you are not already doing so, please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. iScholar Dive with Hoang and Eshani. Please leave us a comment with your suggestions or the topics you want us to discuss in the future. If you want to share your iScholar story, please let us know by emailing us at ischolardive@gmail.com or sending us a message. We hope to have you again with our next episode on the first Thursday of the month. iScholar Dive content is separate from Hoang's and my research roles at UC San Diego.